So a couple interesting things came from this tragedy. Once I reconnected with my wife, now we're trying to round up our other 7 friends. We found everybody but one guy. And everybody just called him Hoss. But he was a big dude, and we just called him Hoss. We couldn't find Hoss at all for like an hour and a half, actually. It was total mayhem, as you can imagine. We go back to get my backpack, and there is a body under the trailer, eyes open. It's deceased, looking right at me. We make eye contact, and both my buddy and I thought it was Hoss. So we're like, well, we couldn't get close enough to him because of the fire. So we go back to the group, still no Hoss. We didn't find him for 3 hours. And for 3 hours, we thought he was dead. We find him, we all get back together. There's triage units set up pretty quickly because it's a military base, so people are pretty prepared for that. And we just start going through and assessing all of our injuries. I looked worse than I was just bloody. But what's I found really interesting was I started suffering with some PTSD, which I've never suffered with in my life. And I didn't even know what it was because I started really having some serious guilt about running away from my wife and my friends. Like, it was self-preservation. So I wasn't talking to anybody about it. I was starting to feel really guilty. And then a news story came on all over European television. They were looking for this hero. So there was 2 Pulitzer Prize winning photographs that came out of this tragedy. And there was a guy, it was I don't know what you call it when you hit the shutter and it's like, it's like multiple pictures in a row. So somebody captured this guy, thousands of people running away from the fire. He's running. Then they see the next section of pictures is one guy, this guy running against 1,000 people, the opposite direction. He jumps a barbed wire, a Constantine wire, bends down and picks up a baby. And the picture that won was a baby was holding up like this, and it was lit up from the fire glow. And it was just surreal. And he takes the baby, puts it on his arm, and starts running out again. So there was a national search for this hero. Who is this guy? And when they finally found him, it came out about 3 weeks later. He finally came forward. And this was when I was at my most vulnerable, I guess, with my PTSD guilt. They find him. He comes forward because they're looking for him. He did a press conference. He was an Army guy, American. And he went on camera crying like a baby. He goes, I just want to put this to rest. I am not a hero. That was my baby. I left my baby in its car seat when this thing went down. And then they did all this story around self-preservation. And, that's the first instinct. They said, I went to counseling for a little bit that the Air Force provided. And they said, only in movies do you see the guy throwing his body over the bomb, or the hand grenade. But in real life, when the shit hits the fan, it's self-preservation, and your first instinct is to flee. So that kind of got me through my PTSD. There was another Pulitzer Prize winning photo of a guy. So 3 planes crashed, hit the ground. One of the other planes that didn't hit people, this guy's standing totally erect, looking in his viewfinder, and the plane is right here. It's 2 feet from him. He's going to die. And the reason it was a famous picture is he wasn't fleeing. So the speculation was that he lost the jets in his viewfinder. So he didn't know they crashed. So he didn't know what was coming, but he passed from that as well. So there's a lot of backstory and oddities around this tragedy, but it was quite interesting.